Good morning to everyone. Okay, so have you finished the homework? Okay, great. Is it easy or it's okay? Maybe. No, not easy though. Yeah, I agree. Okay, yeah. So congratulations, you passed the first homework. I think you have survived. So you can go forward, okay, for the next topic, okay? Yeah, please hand in your homework maybe during the class, okay? So after the first class break, first lecture break, maybe just hand in your homework, okay? So let's, we continue our lecture from the last week. So we haven't finished the 3-2, the chapter. So we are going to continue the chapter. So after we introduce the basic fundamental ideas about physical vapor deposition and the chemical vapor deposition, and some implementation, and also some kind of diffusion process. Now I'd like to focus on one topic regarding the interconnections and the context. So for semiconductor interconnection or context, actually if we have a metal contact with metal, okay, so we don't talk about their different kind of type. So if they can contact very well, so we will have this kind of connection results we call the ohmic contact. So for the ohmic contact, the relationship between the current and the voltage will be a linear relationship. Okay, that's what we call the ohmic contact. So for example, if you have aluminum contact with p-type substrate, second p-type substrate, okay, because aluminum is also p-type. So for both of them are p-type, so when they connect to each other, there won't be any junction, okay, p-n junction, different junction among two different material, okay. So the contact will be, we call the ohmic contact. So ohmic contact, you got the relationship, the VR ratio is a fixed number, we call the resistance R, okay. However, in most of the case, the aluminum wire, actually in semiconductor industry, we use a lot of aluminum as a material as a wire for the connection. And so aluminum is like a p-type material, so as we mentioned. So when aluminum contact with an n-type material, n-type substrate, so they will form p-n junction among them. So once you have a p-n junction here, so the behaviors will not follow the ohmic contact rule. It become like a diode, okay? The diode is like a, when we have a forward voltage, positive voltage, for example. So we have a current over here. However, if we reverse the voltage, okay, for example, like a negative voltage, so you got almost no current going through, okay? So it's like a binary device. So we have only current in this part and no current in the other part. So this is another good contact actually. If you want to consider, we want to have a good contact, good current in the positive part and also negative part. This is not good contact at all, okay? However, we still have a lot of chance we can have this kind of situation happen between the aluminum and the n-type material contact with each other. So we want to solve this problem to a little bit bring back this kind of contact, not become the diode contact. We want to bring it back a little more like the ohmic contact, okay, linear relationship. How should we do? And we don't want to change the type of the substrate actually. It's still n-type. So one way we can do is we put another dopant, okay, heavy dopant, N+ dopant, above the n-type substrate, okay. So as we can see in later on, okay, maybe a couple of months later, when we have N+ over here, so the N+ region is more like metallic material, okay. So when you have two, but it's really not a metallic material actually. So when we have these two contact with each other, it will be more like two metal contact with each other. As you can remember, when two metal contact with each other, so it will form ohmic contact, right? Or same type material, for example, p-type material contact with each other, or n-type contact with each other, will have an ohmic contact. So here we have a n+ contact with aluminum, it's not really like a ohmic contact, but it's a similar. So the final contact will form like this. So you have a two diode. Positive side you have a one diode, on the other side you have the other diode. Okay, and because N plus is close to metal, so this behavior is closer to the ohmic contact. You've got current on both the positive side and also the negative side. It's better. Okay, there's nothing. Okay, yeah, better than the center. For the center one, you have only one side. The other side you don't have any current. So by this kind of contact, it's not a quite linear relationship, but it's better if you have also positive and negative part with some current. Okay, that's the idea. So remember, every time when you want to connect the wires, aluminum wires with like different types of the substrate, so you need to consider using N plus as an interface between the N and the aluminum, N material and aluminum, N dopant material and aluminum. Okay, so that's a basic idea. So after understanding this, now we look into different interconnections. So here in semiconductor, industry, when we are doing the MOSFET devices, actually there are many different connections among different materials at different area. And actually, for good connection, we want the resistivity as low as possible. Okay. So here give you some numbers of different kind of materials when they contact with each other. So for example, for the if you have only doping material, like polysilicon or silicon doped with like a p-type, n-type impurity, so the resistivity is also not very good. Actually, you can see resistivity is pretty high. So 1,000 ohm, sorry, micro ohm per cm, cm. That's for typical for typical metal contact, you have a very low resistivity, it's 1,000 micro ohm. It's around like 1 milli ohm. That's typical metal contact. Okay, the value. However, if you have like for a shadow structure with a diffusion, diffused with different kind of dopants, usually you have like 10 to 20 ohms. This value is about like 1,000, even 10,000 times higher than the metal contact, metal material. Okay, so metal material can give you lowest resistivity. Okay, but if you have a diffused silicon, either by N-type or P-type, the resistivity is usually very, very high. Okay, so talking about like 1,000 times or even 10,000 times higher. So you need to consider that. So if you want to connect the signal from one side to the other side, it'll be better to use metal instead of using like a diffused silicon material, because diffused silicon material can give you a very high resistivity. Okay, so the high resistivity can give you several problems, like you would have a high power consumption and lower signal transmission time. You just spend more time to transmit your signal. Okay, those kind of problem. So these are typical things. This is for diffuse interconnection. And for polysilicon interconnection, polysilicon actually is different from single crystalline silicon. We will discuss this later. Polycrystalline silicon has a lot of boundaries. Polysilicon, okay, polycrystalline silicon actually has a lot of small single crystalline silicon, but they have different orientation connected with each other. So they have a lot of grain boundaries. So when you apply voltage, so the grain boundary can provide a lot of current resistance. So for polysilicon contact, even after heavily doping, either N-type or N-type, P-type, it still gives you not a very low resistivity. Heavy doping can give you like 300 micro ohm cm, but it's if you have a very shallow diffuse interconnection, you usually have 20 to 30 ohms, okay, per square. So still not a very, very high, but it's better than the diffuse type things. Yeah. So for short distance connection is okay to using polysilicon. For example, for the gate electrodes, usually we will extend the gate electrode, the polysilicon, to some short distance until it contact with the metal wire. Okay, so polysilicon is a little bit better than diffuse silicon, but still pretty high. So you need to consider for long distance transmission of a signal, it would be better to use metal, okay, for example, aluminum. And other things you may encounter like a silicide, polysize, or silicide. Silicide is the silicon has some kind of compounds with other different kind of materials. For example, like a noble or refractory metals, like a platinum and gold, those kind of things. And they react with the silicon, become silicide. It's a kind of compound. Okay, so when they form a compound, so the resistivity can be further reduced because of those noble metal material to give different property. So typically, resistivity is low, is around 15 to 50 micro-ohm cm. Okay, so when we do the contact from metal to silicon, sometimes we will modify the silicon substrate with some kind of silicide. Okay, in order to have the contact better. It's a different technique. Okay, for example, like the Thai silicide, Thai tungsten and the cobalt, those kind of material. And the polysize means similar things to silicide, but it's forming on the polysilicon, okay, on top of polysilicon. And the silicides are several aligned silicides. That means we have no mask. We have only the gate electrodes as a mask. So using that as a mask, we deposit those noble metal onto the rest of the area. So the rest of the area will form we call it silicides, self-assembled silicides. Material is similar to silicides, except that the masking process is different from others. Most of we using photolithography, right, to define the area we want to form silicides. But for silicides, we're using polysilicon, the gate, automatically as a masking material. Okay, so that's our idea. Okay, so that's the end of this chapter. So any question regarding the fundamental of semiconductor fabrication, especially for MOSFET? No? Great, wonderful. So this part is the easy part, actually. We are going to the next chapter. The next chapter is a difficult part. So try to pay much attention, okay, to the next chapter. So we are going to close this chapter. Okay, so now we are entering the next chapter. Okay, so the most important thing for today's lectures will be this part. So we are going to talk about the bulk micromachining. Okay, as you know, there are at least two kinds of micromachining has been invented in the past 20 years. One is bulk micromachining. The other one is surface micromachining. So we will spend 2 weeks on these two important processes. Okay, so bulk micromachining is very, very different from the traditional semiconductor fabrication process because we want to machine. In semiconductor industry, we usually just form some kind of connection wires and also some diffuse area. You can then they will become devices. But for mechanical structure, if you have only very shallow doping things and also very thin metal fin, you cannot form very strong, large structures, especially mechanical structures. That's why people think of how to make a mechanical structures on the top of the MOSFET, on the top of the semiconductor devices. So one way is by using the bulk micromachining. Okay, it's a very efficient way. So before we enter in the process detail of the bulk micromachining, now we first need to consider why we use silicon. Why silicon is a good material for mechanical structure. Okay, so to understand if silicon is a good material as a mechanical structure, material, and we can look into the material property among different materials. So we have a big table over here to compare different materials here. So you can see the materials are ranging from like ceramic material, for example, like silicon carbide, carbide, aluminum oxide, silicon or dielectric material, silicon nitride, and also even diamond. Okay, and also some metal material like steel, tungsten, stainless steel, beryllium, and aluminum. The last one is aluminum. Sorry, there's something missing here. It's aluminum, Al. So maybe you can try to make some amendment here. So we have a different material property compare here, especially we put the silicon in the center. Okay. So what kind of a material property we are going to compare? So look on the top of the table. We will compare the mechanical strength, for example, like yield strength, like hardness, and the Young's modulus. Okay, those are important mechanical properties. So in addition to mechanical properties, we also want to look into the material properties like thermal conductivity and thermal expansions, and also the density, the intrinsic properties of material. So now we focus on the silicon, and because the table is huge, so we don't want to compare everyone. So we compare two things. Compare silicon with steel. Okay, the steel is the most used material in mechanical industry, right? So you use steel everywhere. Okay. So if we can compare the silicon with steel, I think it's a very fair and a very good comparison. Okay, can make a very good comparison. So silicon is here, steel is underneath, so we can compare them side by side easily. Okay, so now we compare the first mechanical property. The first mechanical property is the yield strength. The yield strength, that means how much force you put onto, how much stress you put on the material until material break, damage. Okay, so that's the ultimate strength the material can endure. Okay, that's a meaning of the yield strength. So when you look at the yield strength, actually silicon is 7. Okay, steel is only 4.2. Quite interesting. Okay, so it's out of your mind actually. So you can see silicon even stronger than steel in the aspects of the yield strength. So you need to put much more stress, twice as much stress as the steel. The steel already broken, okay, but the silicon still remain there. So you can see in the yield strength, silicon, out of your mind, is stronger than steel. Okay. Now we compare the silicon property, but if you have only one property, it's not actually good for all kind of aspects of applications. So you need to consider different properties as well. So the second property will be the hardness. So the hardness, as you can know, the hardest material is a diamond. Okay, so diamond give the values 7,000 here. Oh, sorry, 70,000 here. And the silicon is only 850. It's not pretty high, but compared to steel, it's only half as hard as steel. So silicon is a little bit softer. Okay, so it's not as hard as a steel. Okay, that's the second property. So the first property, silicon win. Second property, steel win. Okay. Now we consider the third one. The third one is the Young's modulus. So when you see the Young's modulus, that means when you give a certain kind of force or stress, how much extension, how much stretch, how much deformation the material will go. Okay. So if this value is large, that means under the same force, you can have this is like a Young's modulus. You can look like a Hooke's in Hooke's law. So it's like a spring constant. You can consider it's like a spring constant. So if you have a large this value, that means you need a larger force to yield the same deformation. Okay, large force to yield the same deformation. So it deforms less. Okay, large value means deform less. So you see the value for silicon and steel, they are similar. Steel has a little bit higher. That means steel is a little bit stronger. Not stronger actually. If you apply the same amount of the stress, the silicon will expand a little more than steel. A little more. The deformation will be a little bit more than steel. but the difference is not much. Actually, only like 10% difference. So you can consider in the Young's modulus, silicon and steels are similar. So for the number 3 parameter, we can consider they are equal. Okay. So for the first property, silicon win, second steel win, the third one equal. Okay. Now we go on. Okay. On the third property, the density. So silicon gives the density 2.3, but steel is pretty high, 7.9. Okay. That means silicon is a lighter material. Okay. So steel give you like three times. Okay. I think it's 3 times, 3-fold more density than more dense than silicon. So steel is heavier. When you use the same amount of volume of the material to build up mechanical structure, steel is much heavier. It's definitely not good to use steel to put onto your airplane, right? For airplane, you want to take off lightly, but using steel, you won't have that kind of property. But silicon is good. Silicon, you can consider the yield strength is quite high, so it's quite strong compared to steel, but it's lighter, much lighter, 3 times lighter. So when we look into not only steel, other different kind of material like aluminum. Aluminum is also a light material, right? So even aluminum give you a density 2.7. Yeah, it's heavier. Even aluminum is heavier than silicon. But similar, almost the same, similar. Okay. So you can consider silicon is a light and very strong material. Okay. So you can change your mind. Okay, for now. So this part, I think silicon win. Yeah, because you're using the same volume of the material, you got a better material properties, lighter material, but has as strong as a steel. Okay. And the last 2 ones are regarding the thermal related property. The second list ones are thermal conductivity. So for silicon, the thermal conductivity is here 1.57, steel is 0.97. So it seems silicon is a better thermal conductor than steel. You never think of that, right? Yeah, usually we think of metal is a good thermal conductor. Never think of a stone. Silicon like stone will be a good thermal conductor. But when you look into the table, the value here is really out of your mind. So silicon is much better in the thermal conduction than steel. And the value is almost 1.5, is 50 or 60% much better, much more thermal conductive. So that's thermal conductivity.